Welcome to Satsang.
Hello, Vishrant. Can you please talk about why is enlightenment an inward adventure?
The whole world is interested in the outside. The sage is interested in the inside. The mystic is interested in the inside. The seeker is interested in the inside, because it is only on the inside that we find our true nature. We can't find it outside ourselves. We can't see it. It's on the inside. It's that is aware of the outside. But people are more interested in the outside, because in the outside they can make money, they can get a house, they can have a relationship, they can make things work in the material world. But it is only on the inside that we can truly find our true nature, which is pure awareness. And I call it an inward adventure because it's an amazing adventure. Or you can see it as something that's really hard. You know, it's all attitudinal, really. See, when we start looking on the inside, we start to find things that aren't so beautiful. We start to find our broken programming. We start to find our wounding, our pain bodies. We can also find beingness. But it's an adventure to undo every obstacle that is in the way. It's an adventure to find the beauty of heart. It's an adventure for awareness to turn on to itself. It's an amazing adventure from the perspective of the mind. Or it can be seen as a trial. It can be seen as arduous. But really, it's just an adventure. And so this adventure, for me, began when I was 19. I got involved in encounter groups in Perth, West Australia. And it was all about having a look at what was happening inside of myself, how I was operating internally, and how that was affecting my external reality. And of course, in those days, it was more about personal growth. But it set me on the track to having a look inside. It set me on the inward adventure. And so now I see the whole journey for people who come from ignorance to enlightenment as an adventure, an inward adventure, and the best adventure there is. Because ultimately, there is nothing to do here but wake up to our true nature and to exist as that, rather than stay ignorant and live as an ego. The inward adventure facilitates that awakening, that enlightenment. Are there any questions? Any statements? Any challenges to this teaching today?
Is seeing it as an inward adventure just an attitude that you choose?
Yep, it's just an attitude. You can see it as something that's really difficult, something that is really a trial and something you don't want to do, something that's uncomfortable, or you can see it as an amazing adventure, which is what it is.
Did you ever feel limited in your spiritual journey by your family and professional obligations?
I tended to put truth first. I tended to put the adventure first. And so that cost me, because there's a price for putting your spiritual journey first. There's a price for higher consciousness, because quite often the people that you're involved with, your family and your friends, even your partners, are not in support of your spiritual journey because it's not theirs, and maybe they're not even on one, and they don't understand what you're into. And so over the years, different people have dropped away out of my life who um, didn't want to be involved, didn't want to be involved in the spiritual quest, didn't want to be involved in waking up, were more interested in making the material world work. And as far as money's concerned, well, when I was a seeker, there weren't any enlightened people in Australia that I knew of. And so I had to leave Australia and live in places like India and Italy and England and America with awake people. And that cost a lot. Financially, it was very expensive over the years. And so there was a financial cost to the inward adventure as well. It's one of the reasons that I don't travel. I stay here in Perth so the people here don't have to go and follow gurus around the world in other places. And so I don't move, I just stay here. And people can come and they can sit with me. They don't have to pay exorbitant prices. They don't have to travel to another country. It's all homegrown here. So it did cost a lot, really. Eventually, I gave up my businesses completely because I saw that they were in the way of my journey, particularly my journey towards heart, finding, perceiving heart. As a businessman, I had hardened up. I'd closed up way too much, and for me, I had to get out of business. I had to give my businesses away in the pursuit of heart, and I did. And so it cost me numerous relationships and my business, money, prestige, reputation, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it. There is nothing worth doing here except raising your consciousness levels, becoming more and more aware of how the mind works, and eventually, ultimately, aware of awareness itself, and awareness staying aware of itself, which is enlightenment.
The next question is from Peter.
Vishrant, my name is Peter and I'm in Vancouver.
Hi, Peter. I've lived in Vancouver.
Oh, really?
East Venables, I think it was.
Oh, wow. I'm close to that now. Vishrant, since I've discovered you online, even now, while I'm on this call, I can just feel my thoughts slipping away. I can feel the energy from you. I'm 57 years old, and I've been seeking most of my life. I've had some glimpses and little awakenings along the way. But my burning question the last while has been, am I doing life or is it doing me? And I'm trying to get into alignment with life so that it's living me rather than this personality called Peter living it. I find problems with discipline a little bit in that regard because I'm trying to come into alignment with it. Is there anything that you could say in this regard for me?
This is just for you, Peter. It's not for everybody else. This is just for you. Give your life to truth and start telling people about it, what you have found, what you know. This is just for you. I feel quite strongly that if you start talking about what you know to people and you give your life to truth, you'll find yourself living as truth before long.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that, Vishrant.
If you have any more questions at any time, Peter, contact me again.
Thank you, Vishrant.
The next question is from Puneet.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I've been watching your videos on Satsang, and I had a question. I was wondering if you can guide me. I've been doing the dynamic meditation for more than a year now, and in the fourth stage of it, when I'm sitting there, it starts with having thoughts that keep on coming, and then after a while everything disappears and even I'm not there, and I snap back from that state after some time, and it feels like I was in sleep, but I know it was not sleep. So I was just wondering if what I'm experiencing is what is known as no mind, or that is what meditation is.
Yeah, meditation is no mind. You also could be experiencing a form of satori, where you go into the black nothingness. But like that's very, very good. That's a waiting ground for enlightenment. But have you tried self-inquiry?
I
Asking the
do
question, what's where?
that is my evening or the second practice that I do during the day if I have a chance, or else before bed. I practice self-inquiry, where I sit, close my eyes, and I do self-inquiry.
Yes.
But I haven't moved past the identification that I have with myself and my mind, because when I'm observing what I consider myself in my mind, that is the point where I'm not thinking, and I stay in that state for maybe I don't know how long, and then I come back to thoughts again.
So what's happening in your mind right now, right at this moment?
I'm aware of who I think I am, and I'm looking at you.
Okay, so let's try that one again. What's happening inside your head right now?
Nothing. I'm just looking at you.
Yes, just looking. Okay, so now let's see what's looking. What's actually looking? Turn awareness back to itself. What's looking?
Maybe I'm the witness. The witness that I see. I always
Okay,
think that that's me.
okay, it can't be a maybe. It's got to be directly in the moment. And so you're looking at what's looking. There's something looking at Vishrant. What's looking? Turn awareness back and see what's looking and see the qualities it is as. I'll give you some clues. First of all, you won't find anything. You'll just find a nothingness or an emptiness. And that emptiness will be silent and still. Now you're looking in the right place for beingness, because beingness doesn't move, doesn't make noise, and quite often it appears as emptiness and nothingness.
My attention goes towards my third eye when I do that.
Yep, I understand. What's aware of the third eye? You turn it again, you see. You use the same question, what's aware of the third eye? Because your awareness has gone to the third eye. Now, what's aware of that? Because that's also an experience. And experiences appear in who you are. What's aware of the third eye? What's this that's aware? What are its qualities? and they're almost impossible to talk about, because when you start turning awareness onto itself, you find there's a nothingness there or an emptiness there. You can, of course, find everything as self, but that's a different type of satori. Quite often in the early stages of self-inquiry, you just find a blank or a nothingness, an emptiness, which is very peaceful, and it doesn't make noise and it doesn't move. And because we're not trained to look at that, because we're trained to look for things that move and make noise, we miss this background that is always here. And so as a meditator, you're finding no mind. Beautiful. What's aware of no mind is a really good question. What's aware? What's aware? What's aware?
I really don't have an answer for you. It's just
No, you can't come
it's
up
just
with
a
an English
feeling.
answer.
It's like
Yep. So now you're
it's
looking in the
just
right direction.
okay. It's just a witness that he's looking at things. And I
Yes.
think
Yes. Keep looking at the witness. Keep turning awareness, the witness, back onto itself. Keep turning awareness back to itself, and you will find that you are that. And you always have been that.
okay.
This methodology does work. Keep turning awareness back to what you become aware of. And so you became aware of the third eye. What's aware of the third eye? What is witnessing the third eye? That's of interest. The third eye itself is just an experience. What's aware of it is who you truly are.
Okay.
Nice to talk to you.
So you suggest I continue same here. So you suggesting I should just continue inquiring and keeping focus on attention of who's aware.
I think that your meditations have taken you to a reasonably good place. And I think it's time for you to use self-inquiry as a methodology to turn awareness back to itself. For the witness to become aware of itself.
Okay. Thanks.
Nice to talk.
You're speaking of different types of satoris. Is there a way to facilitate deeper satoris?
Just turn awareness back to itself. Finding beingness or finding awareness, pure awareness, at first it's like walking around an abyss that you're watching, because there's nothing there. It's a great big abyss. No borders, no boundaries, silent and still. And you're walking around and you're watching this abyss. If you keep watching the abyss, at some point you discover you are the abyss. You don't need to worry about different depths of satoris or even whether you're having one. Just keep turning awareness back to itself until there is nothing left. Just pure awareness, aware of itself.
The next question is from Puneet.
Hello.
Hi Vishrant, me again.
Yes.
So I do live in the world and have family and stuff. So sometimes I get scared of being non-functional uh, or finding something that I'm looking for. Uh, how do I let go of that?
Just keep self-inquiring. You got to remember that in my own journey, I was a family man. I had 3 children and a wife, and another family that I took care of. And I ran my own business as a naturopath and psychotherapist. And I did all of these things while self-inquiring, while asking the question, who's aware? Also, I was a meditator like yourself. And so meditation and self-inquiry and the practice of openness were my way of life of being in the world. And I did that while in the marketplace. Don't worry about anything. Just keep self-inquiring as to who's aware. The worry just brings you back to the mind and living as worry, because whatever we put our awareness on, we live as. So if you're worrying about how it's going to affect you, you live as worry. Just keep turning awareness back to itself and see where that takes you. It'll take you home to your true nature. And then you can still operate in the world, but you'll operate differently because you'll operate from being-based reality rather than ego-based reality. And for you, I don't know what that's going to look like. But if you're interested in enlightenment, keep self-inquiring.
Thanks.
The next question is from Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Vishrant. My whole body is shaking. I'm so excited to talk to you. It's just like something's triggered within me. I've been searching for truth my whole life, or pretty close to it. And your advice to speak to people. It's funny. Lately, I've become almost very quiet and only speaking when life tells me, okay, you can say something to this person or whatever. But I was very blessed. I was a cameraman and I worked for CNN International in London, and it took me all over the world. And I saw life from so many different angles. And I've got to a point now where I really I just feel I need to surrender, because I'm seeing patterns. It's like life talks to me. It talks to me through patterns and almost synchronicities that are magical. But I do feel as I get out of alignment with these patterns that my old beliefs and everything kick in slightly and cause fear and anxiety. So sorry. This is a long-winded thing, but just basically, if I talk to people, where would that come from? Would that just come from just surrendering and letting it come, or actually, I'm not even sure of the question. I think you know what I mean.
Peter, as a cameraman, because I was a cameraman also, that's how I got to interview Osho Rajneesh and take a lot of photographs of him. I was a photojournalist also. And when you're taking that shot, you have to go silent and still inside before you press the trigger, particularly when you're using film. Now, the way to talk to people about truth is that same space of silence and stillness just before you take the shot, making sure that everything's in frame, the lighting's right, the speed of the film's right, the shutter speed is right, the aperture is right, and then you talk from that space of absolutely nothing just before you fire that camera. Do you know that space I'm talking about?
Absolutely, because it kind of, there's times that I'm shooting where it just feels like it absorbs me into the image, so that it's like I'm shooting, but it's just moving me around while I'm framing and getting the action.
Yes. And so when I was taking photographs of Osho, his energy was affecting my mind, so my mind would stop. Now, Osho was aware of that I was taking the photo, and he would stay still for me so I could take the shot. My mind stopped, and I couldn't take the shot. So he would stay still, and I would stay still until he heard that camera click.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I so appreciate it. So it's so wonderful meeting you.
It's lovely to meet you, Peter. It's lovely to meet you. Peter, I've met you deeper than you can know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question: is the inward adventure necessarily a solo journey?
Absolutely a solo journey. You can't take anyone with you. People can walk on the path with you, but they can't come inside with you. They can support you on the outside, but they can't come inside with you. That's not possible. But what happens when you find self, when you find true self, you find that there was never two people anyway. There was only one being. We are all one. And so this solo journey inward takes us to knowing ourselves as everything and everyone, only one.
Does the inward adventure have to be a hard and long process?
It doesn't have to be anyway. It just has to happen the way it's going to happen. You have to learn to get out of the way and just allow it to happen. You're trying to control is probably in the way. You don't know how much pain body you have. You don't know how much karma you may need to pay back or be rewarded with. You don't know. It's very much an unknown inward adventure, unknown journey. And you have to be okay with, I don't know. It may be hard. It may not be hard. But the key is acceptance of everything as it is. That's the key.
Would everyone's inward journey lead to the same truth?
Yes, there is only one truth. There is only one beingness. There is not two beingnesses. That is aware is the same in everybody. A little bit like no matter where you go around the world, if you taste the ocean, it will be salty. Beingness is always the same, like the ocean. There's not two varieties or three varieties of beingness. There's one variety, and it is everything.
Once you start your inward journey, can you take a break or stop, or does it have to be a daily commitment?
You can do whatever you like. You can stop, you can start, you can continue. But my understanding is that if you do begin, don't stop because you'll be disgruntled. Because once you've begun, you start to discover things are very different than what we've been taught at school, what our religions tell us, what our governments tell us. You find there's a whole nother realm of truth, and that a lot of the belief systems that you were handed by the way you were brought up, your government, your church, aren't actually true. And so if you stop the journey, you kind of get disgruntled because you know too much. You're better off finishing the journey once you've started it.
The next question is as follows: my desire to find a partner keeps pulling me away from the present moment. I start dreaming more. What would you recommend me to do with that desire?
Find a partner. Find if you want to find a partner, find a partner. If you want to have a job, have a job. If you don't want to have a job, don't have a job. Follow what you want. The best want is the want to know yourself as truth. That's the best want. When we look at desires, they all make us unhappy. because if we have a desire for something to be different, we're not happy. We're in a state of discontentment. So if we're going to have states of discontentment, why don't we just have one state of discontentment? And that would be the desire to wake up, and give that desire to wake up your totality. And anything that human beings give their totality to usually succeeds. Up to you. If on the way to enlightenment, or with that desire to wake up, you decide to do all these other things, well, you're probably going to get lost. Because whatever you put your awareness into is where you live. It's up to you. I encourage people to go for truth, because it's the only freedom.
Next, Praneet would like to ask a question.
Hello.
Hi, Vishrant. With self-inquiry, how will I find out that I've come home? Or will I ever find out?
You won't need to, you won't, once you come home, you will not be asking me that question, because the difference between knowing self as pure awareness and knowing self as an ego is so vastly different, it cannot be missed.
Okay.
In ego-based reality, you have all these reference points that make the ego up, from the past projected to the future, and a whole pile of belief systems. In beingness, in pure awareness, there are no reference points. Vastly different.
Uh, and can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
I've gone through quite a lot of Osho's literature, and in that literature, he talks about taking a jump or a leap. If you have heard about it and know about it, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Awareness is mostly aware of the mind and through the senses, the world, for most human beings. For the sage who's awake, awareness is aware of itself and can also be aware of the mind and the world through the senses. The leap is the leap from having awareness just on the mind and through the senses to being on itself. That is the leap.
How do we take that leap? Is there a way, or self-inquiry is the way?
I look, meditation works, self-inquiry works, lots of different things work. The problem with them is they don't work straight away. You have to keep practicing until it does work.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, this is the thing. People are looking for an instant result, and really, you just have to self-inquire and self-inquire and self-inquire, and then an accident happens when you're least expecting it, when you're least guarded. An accident happens, and that accident is when awareness finds itself, which is Satori. If it stays on itself permanently, it's enlightenment. But what you as a mind can do, what you as an ego can do, is set up for that accident. Produce the right ground for that accident to occur in. And the right ground for the accident of enlightenment to occur is meditation and self-inquiry.
Thanks.
Next, Peter would like to ask a question.
Vishrant, now that I've got you on the line, I can't stop talking to you. You said in some of your earlier talks that when awareness became aware of itself, it was like two magnets, like coming together. Now, when I feel truth, like real truth, and I've studied Osho as well as traveled around with, some so-called enlightened masters and all over the world, and searched in various things. But when I feel that Buddha field, as you talk of it, and I feel it very, very strongly now. There's like this magnetic pull, but there's also I'm also feeling like it brings up all of my other stuff as well. That's still residue, and it's very, very painful as well. And that makes me feel very kind of awkward and weird. Maybe my question is, how can I be completely with an enlightened person without being completely aware that you're aware of all of. Actually, let me rephrase that, because I'm going off track here. My mind is just going away while I'm talking to you. What I was maybe wanting to ask is, I'm aware that there is this repeated cycle of trying to reach this point of truth. You describe it as many lives. I've tried to remember my lives. I haven't been able to, but I do feel like I've been going round and round on this cycle for many, many times. But it almost feels like what goes around. I mean, if me, Peter, is an illusion, when I die, what comes back, and what keeps searching again? Sorry, I've been a bit vague. I'm just feeling your presence, and it's so overwhelming right now, Vishrant.
So I'm going to answer the question that was underneath all of that. The pain body that's there, the uncomfortable feelings inside that have been there for this life and maybe other lifetimes, will come to the surface when you come into the presence of someone who's awake, or when you start self-inquiring. As Jung put it, the dark night of the soul occurs. And the only thing that you can offer that will assist that is your warm welcoming, your warm acceptance of what is, nothing else. And in that warm acceptance, we learn surrender. That's how we learn surrender.
Thank
and
you.
it is surrender. It is surrender that will facilitate enlightenment. It's like human beings are like a worm on a hot tin roof, flipping from side to side, trying to find comfort. When you, as the worm, decides to just lay on that tin roof and burn, in acceptance, you're setting yourself up for enlightenment, because now you've surrendered.
Right. Thank you.
People think.
Go ahead.
People think that when they accept, the pain will go away. No, the pain doesn't go away, but the resistance to the pain goes away.
It almost feels like a very, very fast vibration. It almost feels like it's trying to get into frequency, and it's just slightly out, and it's almost wobbling really, really fast. And it's like I'm just wanting to let everything go, but there's still that little part of me that's just going, like, no, I've got a wife, I've got a job, and I'm dealing with, I work as a rigger now in the film industry, and it's very hard because there's a lot of, rough characters as well, and it's not all smooth sailing because you've got to deal with them. But there's a part of me that, go ahead.
Just for a second. Look at me now as though you're looking through the lens of a camera and you're about to take that shot where you have to be silent and still, and watch how your mind just backs off. And this is the way to be with me. Can you feel it?
I can.
This is the right ground. When your mind backs off, you're putting yourself in the right space for everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
The following question has been written by a viewer. Do most people who find and dwell in beingness end up going all the way to enlightenment?
No, most people don't. Most people don't. There's something that people miss out on, and they don't recognize that someone who's enlightened has given their life to truth. They actually don't really have a life anymore for themselves. That's over. The ego mind has given itself to truth, and in that it has died. It has surrendered unconditionally. And so those who are fully awake serve truth, and they may serve heart, but they don't serve themselves. That's over. That's gone. That's ended. And so not many people wake up because they're not willing to give their life to truth. They want to wake up and they want to have something for themselves. Well, that's not the deal. The deal is very simple: everything for truth and nothing for you, or everything for heart and nothing for you. They're the only deals that work. There is no deal where the ego gets to wake up. It never wakes up. It surrenders unconditionally, and that's aware of it stays aware of itself. Very different. And then the mind facilitates that by being in service to that.
The following question is from a viewer. Is desire the same as yang energy?
Look, all outgoing energy is yang energy. Yin energy is just receptivity. It's just wide openness, allowing everything to pass through. It is so beautiful. Yang energy is outgoing. And if you like, yang energy is in the way. You need to become yin. And so they say in some religions in India that those who have awoken are all women, because even if they're men in body, they become women because they become absolutely receptive, absolutely yin. Everything that was in the way has been surrendered, and now the world flows through them rather than gets caught in them.
The following question has been written by Terry from Facebook. What about desire to be healed from a continuous, debilitating migraine? How can one even continue to meditate?
Yeah. Bad news. I only have one answer, and that's acceptance. There is no magical answer that is going to help you. Acceptance is the only answer that works, and medication. See, people, they want something different. They want an answer that will relieve them of pain. But really, the key to freedom, the key to enlightenment, is unconditional surrender. And we learn unconditional surrender, which is non doing, by the practice of acceptance of what is. Can your mind accept the headache or is it going to resist it? In acceptance, the mind can rest in the pain. In non-acceptance, the mind will resist the pain and suffer.
The following question is from Manar on YouTube.
I haven't finished talking yet. Thank you, Tosh. 8 weeks ago on Sunday, I had a motorbike accident, and for 7 weeks I've been in pain, continuous pain, because 4 ribs got broken and my collarbone got broken. Absolute total acceptance of the pain didn't change the pain, but there was no suffering because there was no resistance to the pain. This is something that really needs to be practiced to be understood. The practice of accepting what is without reservation. If anything, a warm welcoming of what is. Your choice. Pain is pain. It is our resistance to pain that is suffering. The mind probably wants another answer because it wants pain relief. But the key to enlightenment is acceptance. In acceptance, there is no more story. There is no more you. It is over. Perfect. Yes, Tosh.
The next question is from Manar on YouTube. Is truth nothing or everything? Because I don't want to live forever, even if the truth is forever.
The thing that's asking the question doesn't make it to the party, I'm afraid. What's aware of the thing that's asking the question is always here, always has been here, and always will be here because it's not born and it can't die. The mind that is asking the question will die. If it learns to surrender before the body dies, it is over. Samsara is over. Surrender.
The next question has been written by Mark. Moments in Satori is heaven. The rest turns into hell. So what I'm hearing is surrender to the hell until it is over. Is this correct, or is this hell something that needs to come out?
In surrender, it is no longer seen as hell, it's just seen as what is. It is only seen as hell while there's a heavy judgment going on and probably a non-acceptance of what is. The moment we accept, everything is okay, no matter what it is. Have a look at your level of acceptance.
Next question. What is it that makes you know too much to go back to living a life of happy, mundane ignorance?
So I was brought up a Roman Catholic, did 12 years in Catholic school, was led to believe a whole pile of things by my government, by my peers, by my teachers. And upon examination, I found that they weren't true. And so I decided to adventure and find out what was true. But the more that I saw that was true, and the more that I saw that what I'd been programmed to believe wasn't true, the less chance I had of going back to what I was like before. Because what I was like before was very much based on all these belief systems that weren't real. And so I started to realize that there was something here that was greater than the I, beingness. And I just couldn't go back to living as an I and be completely satisfied with living as an I when I knew there was something else, when I knew that I was something else. The only way that you can probably do that is to stay drunk or something, stoned. But how long can you do that for? Go for truth. Go for the totality of who you truly are. Turn awareness onto itself and be free and be free and be free. In that, you get to see that you were never ever imprisoned, that there was no such thing as freedom, because beingness has always been here. You were just unaware of it, but you are always at your final destination, here.
The following question has been written by Art. Sometimes I'll be 70% in beingness and 30% doing something simple. After a while, I'll be unable to exactly account for the last couple of minutes. Does this necessarily mean I was out of it then?
I love the way you can measure it, Art. That's amazing. You put a percentage on how much you're in and how much you're out. And so right now, my awareness is out here with you to some degree. It's also inside on itself to some degree. And because I can still talk, it must be out here to some degree, to a fair percentage, I guess. Because when it goes in, all language is lost, just silence and stillness. But does it really matter? Does it really matter? Just keep turning awareness back to itself. All of these questions like this one to understand are in effect some form of wanting to control. Let go of control completely and trust. Self-inquire. Who am I? What is aware? And trust. See where the trust takes you. The controlling mind has to let go. Because it's in the way. The best answer that you can ever come up with is, I don't know, because there's no control in that. The quest to know things is also the quest to control things. It is the ego and its survival mechanism that wants to control. Let go, let go, let go. Let go of everything and be free.
The following question has been written by Manhar. How would the mind surrender itself? Because the question also arises from the mind.
When you look at surrender or unconditional surrender, it's actually a non-doing. And the mind can't do unconditional surrender. It actually has to be programmed for that to occur. And it gets programmed for that to occur through the practice of acceptance, the practice of putting itself aside. So if we look at just Buddhist meditation of watching the breath, we're watching the breath, the mind comes in, you let the mind go, you come back to the breath. You're actually practicing surrendering the mind. And so meditation, the practice of watching the breath, is a practice of learning to let the mind go over and over again when it comes back into play. Self-inquiry, asking what's aware, is another practice of letting the mind go, because you're not trying to look in the mind, you're trying to find what's aware. The mind cannot do unconditional surrender, but it can be trained for that to occur. And unconditional surrender works like this: you insult me and nothing moves. That's unconditional surrender. It's not a doing, it's a non-doing. Nothing moves. This is hard for the ego to understand because it likes to be able to do things. It likes to be able to manufacture things, but it can't really manufacture unconditional surrender. All it can do is practice acceptance, meditation, and eventually there is non-doing, non-reacting. Now you have a mind that is equanimous, a mind that will support enlightenment.
Next, Anit would like to ask a question.
Hello.
Hi, Vishrant. Uh, so while I'm out and about or at my job, uh, I'm doing problem solving. In those moments, how would you suggest I go about? Because if I'm doing self inquiry while I'm doing my task, then I'm not focused on my task, and my task require my attention to be outwardly focused. So how do I go about being uh, being in those situations where I have to perform tasks where my attention needs to be on something outside of me, or do I come back to self inquiry periodically when I can think of it? Like, how would you suggest I be in those situations?
What is your task?
Uh, I'm a software developer. I write computer programs.
Ah, yes, I understand. Okay, so here we go with this one. This will blow your mind. After awakening 21 years ago, I decided that I'd put a website together to promote Satsang. And I worked on it for 3 days straight without sleep because the program kept failing, because the program was faulty. And at no point did awareness leave awareness. And at no point did I get caught in the mind. Yet I was able to put together a program, a website together from no mind. And the reason for that is that my mind had previously been programmed to be a mechanic and to work on computers. I knew it all. I didn't have to think about it. It all happened automatically, very much similar to riding a bike. Admittedly, it was slower than if I was using my rational mind, but it all happened by itself without me getting too involved at all in thinking. I just waited for the answers, and the answers would come because my mind had already been programmed. And your mind has probably already been programmed to do a lot of what you do. It happens a little bit automatically, similar to riding a push bike. Check it out. We only think we need to think. A lot of what we do, we don't need to think about at all. We can just do it. How's that sound?
Uh, Sounds a little out there because I haven't done it myself,
Try it.
or have
Try it. You,
experienced it.
you must have a fair bit of knowledge about computers by now because that's your job. Try doing a lot of it without thinking. Try just staying in no mind and just doing it and watch what happens. Watch how efficient and effective you can be, but you have to trust. Your mind has to trust and see what happens.
Okay, thanks.
Because when you were a little boy, the same as myself, we had to learn a lot of different things, and then we had to go to school and learn a lot of things. Then we had to go to secondary school and learn a lot of things. But once we've learned them, we've learned them. Like riding a push bike, we don't need to think about riding a push bike once we've ridden it. We just ride it. A lot of the things we do, including mechanics, including computer science, can be done automatically because we've already learnt it.
Can I ask a little follow-up on that then?
Yep.
How would you suggest to tackle something that you're learning or you're doing it for the first time?
That's a little different, but you've got to remember, I was putting a website together for the first time.
Okay.
Look, if I have to transfer money from one bank account to another account, I'm not familiar with what's going on, a certain level of involvement's involved, but only for a few seconds, and then bang, back to nothing. You'd be surprised at how much you can actually do without thinking, just because your mind is already programmed to do it. Now, if you'd never been trained, or you'd never practiced in what you're doing, well, you wouldn't be good at it. You wouldn't be able to do it. You'd have to learn it. But you know most of it already, probably all of it, because you've done it so many times before.
Okay.
My life nowadays, and has been for 20 years, is I don't live in my head. When I stop talking, my mind is silent. There is no editor that stops things coming out of my mouth. It is just straight. A lifetime of being in the world before awakening. And for you, the same. You have so much expertise. You'll be surprised at how much you don't have to think when you really just allow yourself to be with what is. You'll see all the answers rather than think about them. You'll know all the answers without thinking. Check it out.
Thanks.
Get back to me and let me know how you go with that. I'd love to hear.
Okay. I'll let you know how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here today.